Good evening and welcome everyone to our weekly check-in that we've been doing the last few weeks where we get to check in with you all and see how everybody's doing sort of in a way, but to refresh a little bit about what we've been talking about lately. And so that's what I wanted to do tonight for a couple of minutes is just to talk a little bit further about what I was talking about on Sunday, some of the things that have come to my mind since then. And on Sunday, in our new series on revealing Jesus from the parables, we were looking at the parable of the sower. And we looked at the four different groups, if you will, of people that we could share the gospel with, or different groups of people, different ways that people hear the message, whether they're non believers or believers. And out of those groups, one of those groups was one who really didn't hear the message at all. As I said on Sunday, it basically went in one ear and right out the other. But two of the groups, which is where I wanted to spend a little bit of time tonight, were very similar, as I said, on Sunday. And it was more people who heard the message, who received the message, even got excited about the message, but they didn't have strong roots. To go back to the gardening theme, they didn't have strong roots. And so when temptation came, when persecution came, when the troubles of this life came, it was all too easy for them to fall away from the faith and to turn their backs almost on Jesus. And so the importance of discipleship is what we needed to talk about, and I mentioned it briefly on Sunday, and that's what I wanted to talk about today, and the importance of discipleship for all of us, but something else too, and that's checking in, checking up on people, which is what we're doing now, but follow up. Follow up is the other word that I wanted to use. So going back to myself, when I first became a believer, I was at basically, you could say, an evangelistic meeting. It was a movie, but it was put on by the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. And at the end, as they often did with those things, they had an opportunity for people to come forward to the front who wanted to accept Jesus into their lives. And at the front, they had some trained counselors, pastors, leaders, whatever, that they had trained who were there, ready, willing, and able to speak to us. So I went forward that day, and there was a pastor there who spoke with me and shared the gospel message with me more clearly and prayed with me and so on. But why I mention this is one of the things that they were asked to do, and I've done this myself in my own experience. I've been at evangelistic meetings where I've been one of those counselors, leaders or whatever, and one of the things that they teach you that was really, really important is the idea of follow-up. A follow-up. So when the person like myself comes to faith in Christ, you don't just leave them to sink or swim on their own. You want to follow up with them. And so this pastor followed up with me a couple of times, checked in to see how I was doing, made sure I was following Christ, that I was reading the Bible, that I had a church that I was attending, and so on. And that's what I had to do as well when I did this and prayed with people, is I had to follow up with them, check in, make sure that things are going well, that they're attending a church, and so on. And I think that's really important for all of us to remember. Like I said, we don't want them to sink or swim on their own. We need to follow up with them, check in with them, make sure that things are going well. We need to find a way to help develop the root system in these new believers, but in all of us. And one of the biggest ways to help us with our roots, to get stronger roots, is in discipleship. And so for us as believers, it's really important to come to church, whether we're coming to church online or whether we're coming to church in person. And through that, we can get discipleship, we can get teaching from the pastor, but we can also have the fellowship, encouragement, support, and so on from our fellow believers. I've heard people say over the years that as believers, they don't have to come to church on Sunday. But I would disagree with that to the extent that going to church is one way that God has laid out for us to get the discipleship that we need, the growth that we need, the encouragement, the support, and so on from our fellow believers. And that's something that's really important for all of us. We're all on this journey together. We all need to grow together in our faith. We all need discipleship. And so that's something that we need to do. We need to follow up with each other. We need to be in touch with each other. We need to encourage each other, support each other, and all of that so that we can all continue to grow. We can get stronger and stronger roots so that when the troubles do inevitably come, and they will, that we will stand firm in our faith and continue to walk in our love of God and follow Him in everything that He has asked us to do. So I guess that's my encouragement for today. My check-in for today is that we would all remember this, that we would all continue to worship God, but that we would remember and continue to support each other and encourage each other. And anytime we have the opportunity to lead someone to Christ, we need to continue to follow up with them and make sure that they're getting the discipleship that they need. The scriptures talk about babies. And babies, when you start to feed them, you feed them with milk and so on. But if you leave them all alone, they're not going to grow. The parents need to be there and help them and give them what they need and give them the food that they need, or else they're not going to get anything. And it's the same thing for us in our walk with Christ. We continually need to be fed by God Himself, but also encouraged and fed by each other as well. So those are the words that I have for tonight: is discipleship and follow up, and the importance of that, not only to share the gospel with others, but also in how we interact with our fellow believers. So again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you on Sunday as Charlene brings the message this week, as we look at yet another parable and how we can reveal Jesus from that. So thank you again. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you on Sunday. God bless.